You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
All right, it's 25 minutes now before 11 o'clock. We started an interesting series about a couple of weeks ago where we look at the afterlife. And I've been asking you, what do you believe about what happens after life? And what we'll be doing, or we've done in the last couple of weeks, and what we'll be doing in the coming weeks is look at what the different beliefs say about the afterlife. And I want us to start being curious about what happens outside of our physical bodies. Like, this human experience is more than just this body. And I think we should be curious enough to ask ourselves questions about other parts of this human experience. Like, what is the spirit? What is the soul? And maybe that helps us also start doing work to take care of the soul, to take care of the spirit, whichever way you want to do that. You know, some people believe in eternal life. Some people believe in reincarnation. What do you believe happens after life, and why? We first started by looking at the different Christian denominations and what they believe about the afterlife. Last week we focused on what Islam teaches about the afterlife. We'll be focusing on Judaism as well in the coming weeks. But today we're looking at African spirituality. There's a belief in African spirituality that although one ceases to live in this world, life continues in the spirit world, and we can even connect with people from the other side. And our guest will help us understand that more. But I always I want to hear from you. What do you think happens when we die, and what's the foundation of that belief system? There are some people who've never believed it until, like we've heard over the last couple of weeks, people have been calling us and saying, I was stuck in a coma and I had a sort of a near-death experience which proved to me that there is something that happens on the other side. You know, some people have been quoting scriptures that say, beyond this, we are done. There's nothing else after we cease to exist here. What are your thoughts? 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Professor Nokuzola Mndende is an adjunct professor at the Nelson Mandela University and president of Icamagu Spirituality and founder of Icamagu Heritage Institute and author of African Cultural and Spiritual Works, is joining us now on the line. Prof, thank you so much for making time for us, for guiding us through this important conversation. Good morning.
Oh, thank you, Clement. Good morning, and good morning to the listeners. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I want us to start by explaining to the listeners, when we talk about African religion and African spirituality, what does that entail?
Okay, when I was speaking before, I just explained when someone was asking, is it African religion or African spirituality? I just said we have got a problem as the Black people. We always fight about the foreign terms, English terms, spirituality, religion, and so on. But from my understanding, everybody, whether African or Indian or European or whatever, has got spirituality. The difference is how do you practice that spirituality? And some people are saying, no, we don't have religion, but we have spirituality. Clement, we must accept the present reality that in all our families, we belong to different faiths. But now, coming to my faith, the indigenous faith, I'm saying, though we belong to different clans, but there are those who believe in the Creator, who believe in ancestors as intermediaries, and who believe in the performance of rituals, the collective, and so on and so on. Those people, they are from different clans, but there are those, I would say, doctrines that they believe in them. And those people, they are birds of the same feather. If they are birds of the same feather, they form an institution called religion. So hence I believe in African traditional religion. Some would say, why traditional? I would say the confusion that we're having now as let me talk about South Africa. As South Africans, so many people, though they are pluralistic, practicing many religions in one, they would say because of their color and the continent, what they are practicing is African religion. But when you look at it, there are many elements of other religions. Hence, I prefer African traditional religion. So what I'm practicing doesn't have other elements of other religions, just indigenous. So that's why I'm saying it's African traditional religion. Yes.
Okay. What does the African traditional religion then say about the afterlife? So what are the beliefs in as far as our existence is concerned and what happens when we die?
First of all, thank you, Clement. First of all, we must understand what is life. Life is a journey from conception to ancestorhood. As I said in the beginning, ancestors are intermediaries between us and the Creator. So most people, they claim that we don't believe in the Creator because they define the Creator from their own perspective. Clement, for the child to stay in the mother's womb, breathing oxygen and not suffocating, that means there's a power behind that. The fact that we see the trees, we don't know the ingredients of them. So that means there is a power above. So we believe in that power and we believe in ancestors and we believe in the communal way of life. Hence, we always communicate through rituals. So what happens now, as I'm saying, life is a journey. You'll find that in all this life, there are rituals that are being performed, during birth, during puberty, marriage, and during death. So death to us is not the end of life. Death is a transition stage from this life to the other life. And it is a physical separation of the individual from this life and other living human beings. There are so many translations of death because this is immortal. The soul doesn't die. Hence, you'll find different terms when one has passed on. I'm Xhosa speaking. You'll find that in Xhosa, there will death is a distraction because they would say akaseko, that means the person has gone somewhere. Usisiyile has left and is somewhere, and Uchonile has disappeared, has gone, and so on and so on. So meaning that it is the flesh that is decayed, but the soul is gone to join those who have already there. Hence, you'll find that when there's a problem in a family that they are doing things that are strange, people will say the bones are speaking, meaning that the bones symbolically represent life. So the bones are speaking, the bones are shaking, and they can hear, and so on and so on. So that is death. It is the transition stage. So to join the ancestors.
Okay.
So believe in life after death.
Speaking of ancestors, then, is so every time someone dies, is it the belief in the African traditional religion that once one person dies, they become an ancestor? Like, in other words, are all dead people considered ancestors, or there are only like a chosen few that we are able to interact with them, we being from the side and them being on the other side?
I want to be honest to you, Clement. We believe that a person doesn't perish. The soul is immortal. But I want to be honest to you. No one has ever died and come back to tell us what is exactly happening there. Hence, you'll find that some people who did not who are not known, you'll find them revealing themselves to say, I'm alone there, go and take me. And some people would go and take that person in spirit so that the spirit wants to settle. That is why we don't say RIP, rest in peace. The spirit doesn't rest because it must look for the good lives of those it has left behind. So to say Nokuzola, if she was a thief, is not accepted there. No one knows that, but we don't know there are programs there. But Nokuzola, if Nokuzola is not happy, Nokuzola will reveal herself to her children that this and that should be done for me. I'm not happy here. And then it is done. Yes.
Okay. What about like how people live their life on earth? Because from the last 2 weeks when we looked at Islam and even Christianity, they were talking about sort of like the benefit. So if you're living an honorable life, for instance, that gets to be rewarded on the other side. If you're living a dishonorable life, that you pay the price for that on the other side. So in African traditional religion, are there consequences in the spirit world for living a dishonorable life? Do you believe in that concept of the greater God, like just, embracing you and helping you based on how you've lived, and he rewards you based on that, and also the concept of you are not living a good life and therefore there's punishment for that? Is that what is believed in African traditional religion?
Are dying in hospitals now. When in the past, people are not dying in the hospitals, they wanted to die at home. That is why they were having what we call not the will. Will is something from the left, from the west. And secondly, there is a term in Sixhosa which is called ukumpola. That means you tell people what the wrongs that you have done, and you apologize because your guilty conscience is alive. But now, as I'm saying, not everybody is accepted in the spiritual world. That is why they would appeal that they need to be cleansed. I wouldn't like to say a thief, a rapist, and so on, a murderer would go to the spiritual world. But there will be things that person would reveal, the spirit would explain that I am not happy here. You must do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the family does that. But now they die in hospitals. And some, they did not be, let me make just a good example. You'll find some will agree with me, you'll find that there are people who are not performing rituals. But when they die, you'll find people saying, I don't know, because my father never performed the rituals. Now he's revealing himself to me that he wants this and that, the morning ritual to be done for him and so on, but he never did that. I told him that you didn't do it, blah, 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 which means that that father is not happy there. There are so many of them who die born again, but when they die, they demand rituals from their own family.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take some calls now on 011-883-0702. WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. Maybe you believe in African traditional religion. Maybe you've had moments of connecting or someone helping you to connect with people who have abashonile, as the Prof said, who have departed this part of life or on the other side. What has that experience taught you about the afterlife? Give us your thoughts, please. Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. I'll start with those after this. It's 10 minutes before 11.
702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
All right, it's 8 minutes now before 11 o'clock. I'm going to get to some of your questions that are coming through on the WhatsApp line. I'm asking if you believe in African traditional religion, do you believe in ancestors? Do you believe in connecting with those that are on the other side? And maybe you've had that opportunity where you connected with someone from the other side. What was your experience? What did that experience teach you? Let's hear from this WhatsApp voice note that's come through first on 072-702-1702.
Good morning, Clement and your guests. Fascinating topic. I just find it interesting that some aspects of our belief as African people, how they also match with some people in the West. The case being in the book of the book by Gary Zukov. The book's title is Seat of the Soul. He also talks about some aspects that your guest is mentioning there, like how the soul never dies, but goes on and looks for another personality after the previous one, meaning you as a person, your body dies, then your soul will carry on and look for another personality to embody and stuff like that. Fascinating indeed. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. Michael, you're calling us from Pretoria. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
I believe that God created the heaven and earth. Now everything is existing here on earth. Number one, you must understand one thing. God says, I'm not mixed with other gods. Simply means those gods are there. Even those spirits they are talking about are there. Now, depending on you, in which spirit are you believing to? But now, the problem here, people are worried about this thing. Why are they worried?
What do you mean by that?
Why people they become confused about this spirit? Remember, a spirit doesn't die, especially a human being. Spirit doesn't die. And will never die. The spirit will never die. They know the truth, and the truth shall set them free. If you believe
Michael.
in your belief, yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, got it. Michael in Pretoria. I was a bit confused there, but I think, thank you so much for your contribution, Michael in Pretoria. Here's another WhatsApp voice note that's come through.
Morning, Clement. Can you ask your guest, I want to ask your guest, how does he explain this concept of African spirituality? Does it mean that we have got one God who designed different ways for different ethnic groups or different regions or geographical location? One, or two, we've got different gods for different ethnic groups. Because I'm baffled by the fact that we might have one God who designed different ways for different people, when he is one God and he's a creator of all of us. I just want to understand that, because in my little understanding, spirits or spiritual entities cannot be bound to a geographical location. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Prof. Professor Mndende?
Yes, thank you to the first guest. The second guest, Michael, you can see that he's a Christian. And Clement, this is how Christians, black Christians, indoctrinate those who are not Christian. We can see what he's quoting from his Bible, Christian Bible. So I'm not going to answer him because we're not talking from the same level. So that, but I like the when the listeners see that this is how we are being indoctrinated by our own. Now, the concept of African spirituality, one God, if we look at our languages, there are different names of God. But when I'm talking about God, I'm talking about a creator, whether you are black, whether you are yellow, whether you are green or whatever. There is one creator, but the way we communicate with that creator is different. But if you look at the indigenous faiths, some of them, you'll find that there are so many commonalities. I'm not talking about those people who are citing from their Bible. I mean, the Abrahamic faith. Abrahamic faith will always be different from us. So when he's talking about, for instance, Clement, as I was saying in the beginning, even our language, you find it's very oppressive to us because no one of God, because God is the spirit, is not a he, is not even a she. So there's a lot that we can correct each other, but whether you are in Africa or in India or in Japan, there is one. That is why even in all these languages, El Shaddai, Allah, and so on, with different names, there is one creator, but there are groups, races that they think they are superior than the other. But in the way, it depends on which faith uphila kuyo. So, for instance, I'm happy with African traditional religion because I'm normal even today.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what I've answered.
Yeah, it does. It does. Let's wrap up with this WhatsApp voice notes that come through.
Me, I think people when they die, they come back again into life in a new body. So when kids are being born, you find that I've realized that in life there are some people that we say, hey, this one, it looks like Manman, maybe the other uncle or whatever. Exactly what he used to do when he was living, he's doing the same thing. They say maybe your other uncle was a pastor. You'll find that in a generation to come, there will be always another one who's going to be almost the same. So I have a little bit of feeling that people may come back again in the new body and relive again. Like, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know, man.
Well, thank you so much for engaging us and for sharing your input. Professor Nokuzola Mndende, Adjunct Professor at the Nelson Mandela University. Thank you so much for joining us for this chat. It's a minute before 11.